Sup, you beautiful, unsuspecting subjects of my imperialist propaganda machine. Hope you're having a wonderful week out there. Let's just jump right into it. Philip DeFranco is not your friend. He's not a friend of the internet. He's not a friend of YouTube. Yet somehow, everyone seems to love this guy. Let's just jump right into it. Philip DeFranco is truly one of the OGs of YouTube, a YouTube darling, if you will. He joined the platform in 2006, and his claim to fame, The Philip DeFranco Show, was started the same year. His unique approach to journalism, as well as the niche YouTube drama he was covering, allowed him to achieve great success early on in YouTube's infancy. As time went on, and YouTube changed and grew as a platform, Philip DeFranco was forced to grow along with it. His show hasn't changed much since its inception, but his rise in fame has allowed the show to improve greatly in its production value, as well as its volume of output, all thanks to branching out to other platforms. After nearly 17 years on YouTube, Philip DeFranco has been able to grow his channel to 6.4 million subscribers, and has reached the status of YouTube's news guy, even being called News Daddy by Ethan Klein of the H3 podcast.
You want to see who's the real news daddy? Get a
now.
load of this fucking hunk of meat.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Baby.
Holy
Sexy
shit.
pill.
Who needs 2 kidneys when you got 2 guns?
Speaking of the H3 podcast, Philip DeFranco's relevance has been able to span across YouTube communities thanks in large part to Ethan Klein and Hassan Piker, seen together on the Leftovers podcast. Ethan has long gone out of his way to discuss Philip DeFranco on the H3 podcast, whether it's talking about his weight loss, which caused Philip DeFranco to call out Ethan Klein publicly on his show.
So Ethan Klein, can you stop talking about my fucking weight on your podcast? Well, I personally use people saying negative things about my weight or my looks as further motivation when I'm working out, to the point that I even do like David Goggins-esque bullshit, like taking the audio of them calling me fat or whatever language they use and mixing it with pump-up songs for my workouts. There are also tons of people that deal with weight issues and eating disorders, which, by the way, it's well documented that I've talked about myself having an eating disorder that I've had to really fight to overcome over the years. So when you say on your podcast to hundreds of thousands and if not millions of people that I am permanently doughy, that I am a ham sandwich, it's fucked, and I think it can have a genuinely negative impact on other people.
What? Philly's actually coming for me? Philly's actually making a serious... Philly's being serious right now?
Or he and Hassan are discussing their competition between one another to see who can appear in the most Philly D thumbnails.
How does that make you feel that I'm in another thumbnail?
Let me see when's the last one I appeared in.
It's been a while.
Fuck. Well, I only see one of yours.
Well,
Fuck, dude.
damn, it's been a while.
Fuck.
Oops.
Oh shit, you're already in another one.
Maybe you should compliment him more, so we'll put you in a
I'll
thumbnail.
talk some more about H3 and Hassan in a little bit, but let's first get back to Philip DeFranco. Ever since Philip DeFranco started his YouTube news show, The Philip DeFranco Show, he has covered a wide range of topics. Much of the show, however, is dedicated to internet news, gossip and drama about different YouTube and Twitch celebrities that really doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. He isn't afraid to cover topics like politics and major news events. However, he only covers the largest stories from these fields, not really diving deep into niche global politics because both him and his audience just aren't really suited for it. However, ever since the introduction of TikTok as a major news platform, Philip DeFranco has been up to no good. He's used this new opportunity, branching out into new platforms, to branch out into new fields of journalism, fields of which he's not exactly suited for. Ever since Philip DeFranco joined TikTok and began posting TikTok exclusive content onto the app, he's covered nothing but imperialist propaganda, and no one seems to be talking about it. I actually did talk about it about a year ago now in one of my very first videos on this channel. It's really unfortunate that you see this mainstream YouTube news anchor really just siding entirely with the US military-industrial complex. And according to its continuous growth over time ever since I uploaded it, I feel as though this topic needs to be revisited. Whenever Philip DeFranco was mentioned on the H3 podcast, it was more or less in a good light. Sure, Ethan Klein and Philip DeFranco had some drama here and there for a short time, but at the core of the relationship, Ethan has always respected Philip DeFranco and the content he makes and puts out there for the world. And as someone who hosts a leftist politics podcast with someone like Hassan Piker, I was always a bit disappointed in the major spotlight that Ethan was giving to Philip DeFranco. Yet, I never considered that Ethan may just be completely unaware of the content that Philip DeFranco is posting on TikTok. And to my surprise, that was exactly the case. On the most recent episode of Off the Rails, the Wednesday episode of the H3 podcast, Ethan finally addressed the concerning style of content that Philip DeFranco was posting on TikTok.
Something that we've all kind of noticed, and something I think a lot of y'all have noticed too. Philip DeFranco's TikTok is turned into like literal doom baiting. It's like all about war and fucking death, and it's working for him. The views are nuts, but like
crazy.
If you watch Philip DeFranco TikTok, I'm pretty sure you're just living in a bunker or a safe room, because the world is ending.
This is so like different than his YouTube videos.
I think he found
like it's exclusively like military, like battlefield updates.
He's a warlord.
News daddy, baby. He found something that works, but it is a little doom baiting. I don't know. You know what I mean? Little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. China attacks Philippines in South China Sea.
China attacked the Philippines in the South China Sea, with a Chinese Coast Guard ship firing a water cannon at a Philippine ship, attempting to resupply a marine garrison. The Philippines condemned the action, and the U.S. reminded China that it has a treaty obligation to defend the Philippines, and that extends to its ships in the South China.
China attacked the Philippines in South China Sea. He's trying to make everyone think that like war is about to break out any second. But I mean, what do you think? Because he's getting views, and he is a newsman. I mean, he's news daddy.
Yeah. He is covering the news, but is it selective to get views? I guess that's the question.
I think he exaggerates the danger to the world. You know.
On
he's the warlord.
He's the warlord.
Wait, is that real?
Yeah, this is a real photograph.
No, is that really his? It's just funny. It's like, whoa, when did Philly turn into?
It's interesting how different it is from his YouTube content, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure countless other fans of H3 were incredibly happy that this was finally brought up on the show, as it's something that's been going on now for at least a couple years. While I wish they would have spent a bit more time on the topic, especially considering that the producer Dan is a very politically in tune leftist, you can't really expect a whole lot of analysis from everyone's favorite liberal, Ethan Klein. All in all, Ethan did a really good job criticizing this and labeling it as rage bait and doomerism, something that makes you think war is just going to break out at any moment. This content from Philip DeFranco is blatant warmongering propaganda. So I kind of want to fill Ethan's place and take a deeper look at some of these TikToks he only looked at for a short while. I'll be pointing out some of the major red flags I see, not only in what he's saying, but also the footage and clips that he's using, as well as taking a look at some of the really weird comments under these TikToks that are full of war-hungry weirdos. But first, let's define propaganda, because growing up at any point in the United States, whether it's after World War II, or during the Cold War, or even after 9/11, propaganda is a very heated word, and a lot of Americans seem to think that they're completely averse to it. Propaganda is defined as information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Keep that in the back of your head while we watch the next set of Philip DeFranco TikToks. Philip DeFranco releases a ton of TikToks, but the formula that goes into making these TikToks is so absurd that I only had to go back a couple weeks to find each and every one of these TikToks. They're all insane. They're all propaganda. And I'll prove it to you. This first TikTok blew my mind when I first saw it. Just be warned, it's Bush-era Islamophobia.
Al-Qaeda has called for revenge attacks on Sweden and Denmark, with this coming after people in the two countries burned Qurans. Al-Qaeda saying Denmark and Sweden are two small, despicable countries that amount to no more than two small spots on the world map, and calling upon Muslims to take revenge on them. Follow to stay in the loop.
Classic Philip DeFranco siding with the Western countries, reporting as if they are the victims. What kind of person do you think is gonna burn a Quran in Sweden? Yep, you guessed it. A fascist, and he burned it outside of the Iraq embassy as a blatant expression of Islamophobia. Yet here in this TikTok, Philip DeFranco is saying, in my opinion, oh, look at crazy Al-Qaeda. Aren't Muslims so violent? The comments under this TikTok also really help to illustrate the lunacy of his fan base. Did they forget Article 5 is a thing, or did they think they would get away with it? Do they really think Article 5 is a fun thing to invoke? LOL. Just two small spots on the map that happen to be allied with some of the biggest militaries and economies in the world. Actually, we have big militaries. Don't mess with us, Al-Qaeda. You 1,200 soldiers that are left, don't mess with us. Article 5 this, Article 5 that. These people just want to kill innocent people. Philly D fans are so horny for war, it's scary. And why would NATO care about Al-Qaeda? Like the last remaining 1,200 soldiers in Al-Qaeda, why would they care about them? They're not afraid of them. Al-Qaeda only exists because of NATO intervention. This whole thing just is so stupid. This TikTok is very simply Muslim bad. The next TikTok I want to show you is literally the next following TikTok on his page, the one right after the last one I just showed you. This TikTok really helps to visualize that Philip DeFranco often uses misleading visuals in order to misguide the viewer into some emotion. He's trying to elicit some sense of fear in the viewer.
North Korea says it's preparing for an offensive war against South Korea, and this coming after the defense chief hinted at a preemptive nuclear strike. In response, the U.S. and South Korea will strengthen their defense and surveillance posture. They'll also be conducting military exercises later this month. North Korea is expected to make more provocations in response. I'll have to stay in the loop.
He's talking about North Korea while clearly showing some footage that appears to be coming from Russia. There's very clearly Russian Cyrillic script on these things that these guys are holding. Philip DeFranco knows this footage isn't from North Korea. He can tell it's from Russia, but he's using it on purpose in order to elicit some fear out of the viewer as they watch this crazy, violent performance. Did you know that South Korea, alongside the United States, does a mock invasion of North Korea every year? It's not for training or anything, because obviously South Korea and the United States would just obliterate North Korea if they wanted to. It's literally just to scare the people of North Korea, because they never truly know if this year's mock invasion is going to be the real thing.
As the US and South Korea practice how to fight their common enemy using aircraft, warships, and tanks.
I can't do it in a classroom. I can't do it on a chalkboard. I have to give them the most intense environment that we can create, and this is that environment.
This is one of many TikToks from Philip DeFranco where he uses his very favorite coined phrase, World War Africa.
U.S. and France are fighting over World War Africa. France reportedly actively favors and wants to support the military intervention in Niger, whereas the U.S. actively opposes military intervention and wants to seek diplomatic solutions to the crisis. France believes the U.S. is being unwise in their attempts at diplomacy, but the U.S. views the consequences of destabilization as counterproductive to its anti-terror mission, with the U.S. currently having a massive drone base in Niger that it uses to combat terrorism across all of Western and Northern Africa. Follow to stay in the loop.
Did you catch what he said at the end there? He said that America needs their military bases in Niger in order to fight against terrorism in Northern Africa. Huh? Philly D is really resorting to Bush-era nonsense, talking about counter-terrorism. I haven't heard that word in so long. This is only an excuse to have military control over the region. Every military in the global south is engaging in counter-terrorism, not the United States. We are the terrorists. This last TikTok I'm going to show you today was incredibly shocking to me in the way that he reported on it. It involves an American in North Korea. However, he doesn't shed a negative light on North Korea, but rather the American that's involved in the story.
North Korea says that U.S. soldier, Travis King, who ran into the country, did so because of racism in the United States. Saying he said he suffered from inhuman treatment and racial discrimination in the U.S. Army. They also claim he wants to seek refuge in North Korea or in a third country because he's disillusioned at unequal American society. The reminder, Travis King was reportedly being sent back to the United States due to several crimes he had committed in South Korea when he ran into North Korea. But follow to stay in the loop.
Philip DeFranco is really doubting that this kid experienced racism in America. Philip DeFranco really just said, he said it was because of racism. But we all know it was because he did a crime. Like, that is the most brain-dead right-wing take you could have on this whole situation. Bro didn't experience racism. We all know that he just committed a crime and he's trying to get away. It's impossible for both to be the case at once. He can't possibly be escaping from some petty crime he did in the military, while also, in a greater matter, escaping the racism he's experiencing in America. They can't possibly be occurring at the same time. That's just not possible. It has to be that this kid is lying about experiencing racism in America, because we all know he did a crime. The comment section of this TikTok as well really helps to illustrate the kinds of people that are watching Philip DeFranco TikToks. Well, what do we have here? It's a criminal. And he's trying to blame racism, is what that comment might as well be saying. I interrupt this broadcast here today to tell you that I didn't know this at the time of recording this video, and frankly, I was not at all surprised to learn that this comment, well, that's an anti-Semitic dog whistle. Wow. A dog whistle from a Nazi in the comments of a Philip DeFranco TikTok. I'm so surprised. If this doesn't tell you all you need to know about the content that Philip DeFranco is producing, but also the people who are watching the content and getting something from it. I mean, this is the top liked comment under this TikTok. It's the #1 comment. Well. And the people liking it, they know exactly what it means. It's all Nazis watching this content. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, obviously it's not all, but go into the comments of any Philip DeFranco TikTok and you'll just be met with the worst people in the world. I don't know why Philip DeFranco doesn't see this or recognize it and maybe try to change his content. Oh, actually, I do know why. It's because it's working and it's making him money. And he doesn't care about the messages he's putting across or the types of people who are hearing these messages and are supporting them and are becoming fans of Philip DeFranco because of his messages. He doesn't care because it's making him money. What is the true story? I really don't know. I believe that story is highly possible, but I don't know anymore. According to my calculations, that is possible, but I don't know. I'm sure you've noticed a pattern, if not several, in the types of TikToks that Philip DeFranco is producing. The most simple answer being, no matter what. Philip DeFranco's TikToks are always blaming events on America's global enemies and painting American intervention around the globe in an extremely positive light. So, is Philip DeFranco spreading imperialist propaganda? Without a doubt, yes he is. And it's quite obvious. But how many of his TikToks are propaganda? I scrolled through his TikTok page and looked at the past 25 TikToks he released in order to see how many of them are American imperialist propaganda. If it portrayed American military intervention in a very positive light, or if it portrayed our typical global enemies in a very negative light, when America was very obviously in the wrong, I considered that propaganda. Alright, here we go. Oh, and would you look at that? It's all propaganda. Who would have guessed? I didn't guess that a year ago. At the end of the day, I don't think Philip DeFranco is a terrible guy. Frankly, I don't even think he's really that involved in the production of these TikToks. I think he just provides the voiceover and slaps his name on it. Nevertheless, whoever is taking charge in the production of this content has above all else a massive bias towards the interests of Western global capitalism. And in producing this content under the banner of the Philip DeFranco Show, they are deliberately spreading information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Thanks for watching this video. And hopefully Philip DeFranco soon learns the core human values of peace and love.